News reports have claimed that I'm anti-vaccine or anti-industry. I am neither. I'm not going to substitute my judgment for science.
That was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. during his confirmation hearings for Secretary of Health and Human Services earlier this year. And despite saying he was not anti-vax, many of his moves on the job have sent shockwaves across the public health community, including one this past week to cancel hundreds of millions of dollars in funding for vaccine development. CNN medical correspondent Meg Terrell joins me now. So, Meg, is RFK Jr. walking back some of the promises he made?
Well, Manu, one of the earliest promises that RFK Jr. made as he was coming into this position was that he wasn't going to take anybody's vaccines away from them. But when it comes to COVID vaccines, there's a lot of confusion over who will be eligible to get an updated booster this fall. And that's because of regulatory changes at the FDA that Kennedy oversaw, as well as changes to the CDC's recommendations on who should get updated COVID boosters. And of course, we should also mention that in June, RFK Jr. replaced the entire panel of outside vaccine advisors to the CDC, putting in a new slate of people, some of whom have held anti-vaccine views. And at their first meeting, one of their first orders of business was to say that they want to re-examine the childhood vaccine schedule. Now, of course, this is something that public health experts point out safely protects children against a number of different dangerous diseases. We also, Manu, are expecting at some point soon the Trump administration will release the next stage of its Make America Healthy Again report. And in the first part of that report, they focused on the childhood vaccine schedule. So it's possible this could be sort of a next leg of RFK Jr.'s focus on vaccines, which is alarming to the public health world. Manu?
All right, Meg Terrell, thank you so much for that. And my excellent reporters are back. So, look, Trump, 2020, was touting vaccine development, COVID-developed vaccines. He thought this was going to help him win re-election there. And then now here we're watching the dismantling of this by RFK Jr. among all these other steps that he has taken. And as Zola, in your paper put it this weekend, he's just shrugging, Trump is, as Kennedy undermines his vaccine legacy. That's really it. Trump is watching him do this and is not doing much to stop him.
It wasn't too long ago that we saw Donald Trump actually holding up his administration in their first term in office, that their work getting out the COVID vaccine so fast, as an example of his government actually working for folks. There was a time during the campaign that he was touting, vaccines as well. And now we have a situation that scientists really feared, scientists across the globe. And that's that you are going to have a situation where now bringing in RFK Jr. to lead the Department of Health and Human Services, we're seeing these cuts to these programs that scientists have said are so important in guarding the United States against any sort of disease outbreak. It's really a concern that you would hear from experts studying pandemic preparedness, and they say we're now at that moment. And it is just shocking when you square, again, Donald Trump first term, Donald Trump even during the campaign that you were following so much, and now a situation where he has somebody who has long been known as a vaccine skeptic leading the nation's health department.
Yeah, and how does the White House view him? Is it vulnerability or is it an asset to the administration? Perhaps we can learn a little bit from the polling to answer that question. Among independent voters, the question is, have RFK Jr.'s vaccine policy, will it make people safe, not safe, less safe? Less safe, 41%, a plurality there. But 29% still don't know, but still a significant number less safe. And then what about MAGA supporters and non-MAGA supporters? This is from a KFF poll asking that question. These are Republican voters, ones who identify themselves as MAGA, ones who don't identify themselves as MAGA. 77% of MAGA supporters trust RFK Jr. more than their doctor, compared to 75% who trust their doctor. And that is flipped when it comes to non-MAGA Republicans. 84% of non-MAGA Republicans support their doctor versus RFK Jr., just 48%. What does that tell you about how this is translating within the White House and how they view RFK Jr.?
Well, first of all, one of the things to keep in mind here is that there was a lot of speculation during the transition that RFK Jr. would not get a position as secretary because of the fact that he is so volatile, because of the fact that he is really so highly charged and so many people feel strongly against him. That ended up playing into RFK's favor, which was that Donald Trump said, you helped me get elected, and now I'm going to reward you with the spot that I promised you. And part of that is because of this MAGA base, this idea of Make America Healthy Again. Donald Trump actually believes that Make America Healthy Again helped propel him into the White House. He was trying to siphon votes wherever he could. He believed this was a sect that wouldn't have come out and voted for him unless he had endorsed RFK and had his support. Now, it is going to be interesting to see how this plays out in the long run. Right now, what you're seeing is Donald Trump shrugging it off, as that article said, saying, oh, that happened a long time ago. I'm going to meet with him on it. They never met, as far as I can tell. I talked to several White House officials who couldn't tell me that a meeting took place. But how this plays out in the long run.
Yeah, and that's so interesting because it's independents, Democrats, Republicans who are non-MAGA supporters have concerns, not the MAGA supporters, and those are the people that Trump is speaking to there. But what about the senators that he convinced, RFK Jr. convinced, to win confirmation, including many who were concerned about his views on vaccines? Bill Cassidy, the most significant among them, sits on the Senate Finance Committee. Could have stopped this nomination there, but ultimately he supported him after getting those assurances on vaccines. He tweeted after the announcement of this cancellation of the development. He said, it's unfortunate that the secretary just canceled $500 million worth of work, wasting the money which is already invested. But there have been so many controversies over the last several months that Cassidy has responded to, whether it's how RFK Jr. has handled the measles outbreaks, his plan to lay off 10,000 employees from Health and Human Services, and his firing of key members of the Vaccine Advisory Panel. I asked Cassidy about all those.
I'm very concerned about the measles. The vaccine is safe. They need to speak to their physician.
Should RFK say that, though? Should RFK say that?
I think everybody should be emphasizing that message.
So how do you feel about the HHS restructurings and the firings? The HHS firings? 10,000 people. That's a lot of jobs.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand it.
So are you supportive of it?
Well, like I said, I'm investigating.
Do you regret your vote on RFK Jr.?
You know, Manu,
You can refer to our tweet on that,
I'm
sir.
asking the second question.
And I know you have some different questions, but you're trying to get at something similar. And this is not going to come in.
That last comment came after the firing of those vaccine advisors, but he has a primary challenge, which really explains all of it, or maybe a good amount of it.
Oh, explains pretty much everything. His decision to support RFK Jr. in the very beginning. Look, I think the big question will be, as Kristen pointed out, during the campaign, Trump thought that RFK Jr. brought along a lot of voters, and he rewarded him for that by getting him this position. Is Trump going to do the same for Senator Cassidy and give him his endorsement, which is, of course, very helpful when you have a primary, even though Cassidy, of course, voted to impeach him back in the first term.
And I'm sure Trump is, of course, he remembers that, and Cassidy does as well. All right, thanks, guys. Great discussion.